Andres de AA Sports, finally back with more Mexico national team content. I know I have been a bit absent from Selección de Mexico content as I have been working on other sports content, specifically in the NHL with the San Jose Sharks. Definitely check that out in my list of videos. And if you do like my other sports content, feel free to leave a like on those videos as well. But in this video, I will be breaking down and reacting to Mexico's roster for the Nations League Quarterfinals, where it will once again be a two-leg rematch against Honduras. Here is the roster Aguirre will be taking to San Pedro Sula and Toluca for the games. For the goalkeepers, Aguirre called up Guillermo Ochoa, Luis Angel Malagon, and Tala Rangel. Overall, this is no surprise, and I did expect Ochoa and Malagon to be called up. My one critique is calling up Tala Rangel. I would have liked to see Aguirre call up Alex Padilla from Bilbao. I understand that Tala is getting more repetition as a starter with Chivas, while Padilla is a backup in La Liga. However, Rangel has been very, very shaky in his performances with the Mexican national team so far, and I am not as convinced. Over the last week, Ochoa had his first, what you could say, his first bad game with AVS in Portugal. It was a tough loss as their schedule has been hard over the last few weeks. However, we do know that Ochoa is usually much better at the Selección level than at the club level. So should he play, look to see him try to show that strong national team form that he historically has. Overall, I do like the goalkeeper side of the roster. You have your veteran in Ochoa, who is still playing in Europe, providing leadership to Malagon, who is in his prime with America, and he's also providing leadership to your young future goalkeeper that you are developing, your current third goalkeeper, as you try to build for the future. So this is a well-balanced goalkeeper list. One in his prime, a veteran with leadership, and a young future goalkeeper for Mexico. Very well-balanced. I do like this end of the roster. Moving on to the defenders, Javier Aguirre is going with Montes, Huescas, Vasquez, Angulo, Orozco, Gallardo, Israel Reyes, and Jorge Sanchez. Montes and Vasquez are not surprising as they are the starting center backs, and I imagine that Chiquete Orozco and Israel Reyes will be their substitutes. I like this so far. You got two younger players, especially Chiquete, who can come in and hopefully get minutes and experience. And then Montes and Vasquez, the two best you have starting in the lineup. As for the right back position, this is where it gets interesting. Julian Araujo is once again not called up. It's a bit surprising and disappointing given Araujo is with Bournemouth getting minutes there. You would figure that if you have a Premier League player within your talent pool, you would want to call him up. However, Aguirre is going to go with Jorge Sanchez, and while as much as fans disagree with it, especially given how awful he was against Honduras the last time, I understand his thinking. Sanchez is constantly playing with Cruz Azul, and they have been in incredible form in Liga MX. And with Cruz Azul being in great form and shutting down opponents offensively, it's hard to not call up Jorge Sanchez. It's also hard not to call him up after his strong performance against the United States, where he had a total of 6 tackles won as well. The second right back called up is Rodrigo Huescas, and I like this call-up. He is a young star who made the move to Copenhagen. Even after just coming back from injury, he is getting playing time and is starting in some of their serious games in their domestic cup and in the UEFA Conference League. So this is a good call-up by Aguirre. You got Jorge Sanchez, who's in the best form with Cruz Azul, and Rodrigo Huescas, a future prospect who has recently made the jump to Europe and is getting minutes there. As for the left back position, Aguirre is going with a guy he trusts in Jesus Gallardo. He will likely be the starting left back, and again, while fans may hate seeing him again, with how good Toluca has been and having 4 goals and 4 assists, it's hard to not call him up here. But at the same time, I think it is absolutely criminal for him to not call up Gerardo Arteaga. Aguirre chose Angulo over Arteaga, and I frankly don't like this decision. Angulo has been mid-tier at best and really is not producing anywhere near as much offensively. Meanwhile, Gerardo Arteaga, he can do that. He can produce offensively, as we saw in the Copa America. So I got to imagine that this is a style of play preference for these 2 games regarding why Javier Aguirre did not call up Arteaga. Moving on to the midfielders, we have Luis Romo, Luis Chavez, Edson, Orbelin, Charlie, Eric Lira, and Alexis Gutierrez. Now, Edson is no surprise, and I will say the same for Luis Chavez, who has shown good form with Dynamo Moscow. Luis Romo is a guy many fans criticize, but he had a strong performance against the U.S. alongside Edson. So look for Aguirre to maybe start him alongside Edson Alvarez and try to establish a strong midfield duo with both Romo and Edson. Orbelin has been called up as well. I imagine he will be a substitute attacking midfielder for Luis Chavez. And he has become a bit more of a substitute as he has lost some of his form in Greece. Then we got 2 young players in the roster, Eric Lira and Alexis Gutierrez, 24 and 23 years old respectively. Lira is a defensive midfielder who I imagine is a call-up to be a substitute for either Romo or Edson. And how about Gutierrez? This will be his first time called up to the senior team for Mexico, only having past U17 experience at the national level. So a bit of experimenting at the same time by Aguirre. And I like this. Yet another change to the normal roster. A new face. He has 3 goals and 3 assists so far with Cruz Azul. Hopefully he can shine in his big opportunity. And last and least, to the elephant in the room, Charlie Rodriguez, again, like why? He is such a system player carried by the greater talent of his teammates. He is one of the worst national team players ever. And we saw how against Valencia, having him on the field is like an 11v10 matchup. I hope Vasco Aguirre, I hope he doesn't start him. I just only put him in unless there's really no other option. Now, moving up to the offensive front, Julián Quiñones, Chino Huerta, Alexis Vega, Osiel Herrera, Memo Martinez, Diego Lainez, Henry, Raúl, and surprisingly, get this, Ángel Sepúlveda has also been called up. So let's break this down. Raúl is no surprise. I think he has proven that he is our starting 9 and has been great for Fulham so far, who are nearing the top of the Premier League standings and can potentially qualify for European football at the end of the season. Julián Quiñones is no surprise and a well-deserved call-up. He has been in great form with newly promoted Al Qadisiyah. Quiñones has 2 assists and 4 goals in the last 5 games he has played in Saudi Arabia. I think he can I think he can be a contributing player, and if he starts along with Raúl, I think that can be a lethal duo up front. Chino Huerta also has been called up as well. The Pumas winger will look to get his 4th goal for the national team this international break. On the other hand, I don't like the decision to call up his teammate Memo Martinez. And Martinez has been, frankly, underwhelming this Apertura for Pumas. He also has not impressed as much as Chino has at the Selección level. I honestly would have rather called up a U20 player and experiment regardless of what position that player plays. Start, call up a youth player to, start believing in our younger guys and give them a try. Like we see many European teams do. They won't be afraid to call up an 18, 19-year-old, even someone 17 years old, and just, even if they don't get playing time, just practice with the team and start developing them now. And I think I would love to have seen them do that and just give them a try. Like, for example, why not call up Stefano Carrillo, for example, after his U17 World Cup and U20 Concacaf performances? Heck, why not Dagoberto Espinosa, who is now a prominent player for America at 20 years old? Hell, I would even consider experimenting with 16-year-old Gilberto Mora. He is already the youngest to score in Liga MX. Who knows, maybe we learned something special about him. Regardless, I don't think Memote is the right fit right now for Mexico. Moving down the list, Alexis Vega, the Toluca winger, has also been called up following a performance that saw him score against Valencia, and it convinced Vasco Aguirre to bring him back for the quarterfinals. He has 3 assists in his last 3 games for Toluca. However, the question of whether he should have been given a second chance after his scandals and poor behavior, those still remain present, as we saw when he was booed in Guadalajara. Diego Lainez is also a call-up I don't like. I would rather have called up Marcelo Flores, who has been much better than Diego Lainez. I think we have to recognize 7 of clubs for what it is in a poker hand at this point, and recognize that Lainez is not the same 18 to 19-year-old prospect that he was, as he has been non-existent for Tigres so far and has not been in good form this apertura. However, his teammate Osiel Herrera was called up, and that is a call-up I am happy to see. Finally, he was given a fair chance. He made the most of it, scoring a great goal against Valencia, and now he is on the roster for Mexico's quarterfinal matches. Look for him to get some playing time and see what impact he makes as a young and motivated player. Henry Martin is back on the roster, and many of you who have followed the channel know I have been skeptical about Henry in the past, and I won't lie and say I am not this time. He has 2 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 games with Las Águilas de América. At the same time, we have also seen a completely different Henry Martin on bigger stages, which is why I make the joke that he's like the Dak Prescott of the Liga MX. So I imagine he will probably be a substitute for Raúl. I think that will help him, as I feel he is better as a substitute with less pressure. So we'll see how that ages. And lastly and surprisingly, Ángel Sepúlveda, the 33-year-old, who was last on the roster in 2017 for World Cup qualifiers. Very long time ago. He is back. This decision obviously comes with Cruz Azul's incredible form so far, and individually with 9 goals so far in the Apertura. He has been in solid form. Definitely on the older side to be called up, but if it is the form that matters, why not, right? So there you have it, the Mexico national team roster for the Concacaf Nations League Quarterfinals. Very interesting roster. I'll give the roster a B+ grade. You have players that are no surprise to the list. Some players that I am happy are finally getting called up more, like Osiel, and some players where Aguirre is sticking with what he knows and trusts. At the same time, if you compare this roster to the October roster, Aguirre made 5-6 changes in the roster, including calling up a player for the first time. This is very good to see, given we didn't see this willingness to adjust and experiment with the past coaches. So overall, good. So the roster is set, and now we'll see if they can advance to the Final Four of the Nations League. Andres from AA Sports. Like and subscribe to support the channel. My goal is to get between 50 and 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So, of course, hit that subscribe button to help me achieve that goal. Leave your opinions on the roster in the comments. Stay tuned for more videos and community posts. as well as YouTube Shorts. My first YouTube Shorts with NHL content from SAP Center are up on the channel. Go and check those out. That's all for me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.